This day in sports history. Hey, and welcome to This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Network. This is your host, Steve White, for another trip up and down the sports history timeline. It's September 29th, and on this day throughout the years, we had the Say Hey Kid making the catch, a boxer who it may be said to be a bit of a mama's boy, and a hitter mostly known for base knocks, setting a record for something a bit out of his normal wheelhouse. That, plus a few more interesting things, sports cliches galore, and a non-sports fun fact about comedic genius Chris Farley that you may not have known. Let's start with what happened on this day in 1954, when an unbelievable catch amazed everybody who witnessed it. This was Game 1 of the 1954 World Series between the Cleveland Indians and the New York Giants. The Indians were heavy favorites in this series after winning a then-record 111 games in a 154-game season. Not only that, but they had prevented the mighty New York Yankees from getting back to the World Series after 6 straight appearances. So if they could outduel the Yankees over a long season, surely they would beat whoever the National League put up against them. At least, that was the thought from those in the know, and the Indians put their stamp on the contest early, scoring a pair of runs after Vic Wertz's triple. The Giants scratched for 2 in the third to tie it up, and it stayed that way into the 8th. The Indians' Larry Doby and Al Rosen both singled to get the inning started, bringing Wertz back to the plate with 2 ducks on the pond. It looked like a big inning was coming, and it would have if not for the play that Willie Mays made in center field. Here's Jack Brickhouse with the call from that day.
There's a long drive way back in center field, way back, it is second. Doby is able to go to third. Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people. Where that 483-foot mark is in center field. The ball itself, Russ, you know this ballpark better than anyone else I know, had to go about 460, didn't it? It certainly did, and I don't see how Willie did it, but he's been doing it all year. Willie Mays just made the catch of the day.
But not only was the catch made, but Mays had the presence of mind to fire the ball back into the infield. Doby was the runner at second, and he may have been the only one in the ballpark who figured that Mays may be able to get to it because he hovered close to the bag and he tagged up when Mays made his over-the-shoulder grab. Rosen had taken off at the crack of the bat, thinking there was no way anybody was getting to that. And if Mays hadn't caught it, he would have more than likely been waved home and scored from first. But the catch and throw sent Rosen back to first. Doby went to third, and after recording the final 2 outs, the crisis was averted. Game 1 went to extra innings, and Wertz actually came close to putting more runs on the board. His double in the top of the 10th set up a scoring opportunity, but the Indians' anemic hitting with men in scoring position doomed them. Cleveland was 1 for 16 with men in scoring position for the game. The Giants scored 3 in the bottom of the 10th to win it, a position they would not have been in if Mays had not made his incredible catch in the 8th. The Giants went on to win their first World Series since 1933, sweeping the Indians in 4 games. From the incredible, we go to the downright strange for our next story. In 1989, boxer Tony Wilson got a little help from his mom. This was a light heavyweight bout between Tony Wilson and Steve McCarthy. Nothing on the line really, just a couple of blokes hoping to win a boxing match and move up the ladder a little bit. All was fine until the 3rd round, when McCarthy started to get the better of Wilson. He had him against the ropes. He landed a punch and sent him to the canvas. After an 8 count, Wilson was able to regain his feet, and as soon as the referee resumed the fight, McCarthy descended on him again. Wilson was in trouble. Now, unbeknownst to just about everybody there, Wilson's mom managed to climb over a couple of rows of spectators, climbed into the ring, took her shoe off, and started beating McCarthy over the head with the heel of that shoe. The referee intervened, stopping the fight. McCarthy suffered a cut from the attack but seemed jubilant as he bounced around the ring, seemingly celebrating his win. Here's the thing, though. Once Wilson's mom was removed from the ring, the referee wanted to restart the fight. McCarthy refused, and the referee disqualified him and gave the win to Wilson. The referee's decision was universally panned, and Wilson, who had been an up-and-comer to watch, was now more like Sideshow Bob, the man who couldn't fight without his mom. A rematch was ordered by the British Boxing Federation, but it never took place. Wilson never allowed his mom to come to another fight, but by that point, it was a little bit too late. He did continue to box until 1993, finishing with 20 wins, 18 by knockout, and 1 by stiletto heel. Hey, real quick, you've heard me talk a lot about the Sterling Soap Company over the past few months, and if you haven't tried out their soaps, I get it. It's not easy changing up your routine. But let me just say, if you give them a try, I'm nearly 100% certain you will have zero regrets. They carry not only bar soap, but shave soap, liquid body soap, body lotions, beard balm, lip balm, and a lot more. Plus, there are myriad scents to choose from. Their products are made with natural ingredients and scented oils, and they are committed to being environmentally conscious. And I always get a handwritten note on my packing slip, so I know it's been checked before shipping, and it's a nice little human touch in a world that seems to be going away from that. Give Sterling Soap a try today at sterlingsoap.com. Can you imagine if Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes stayed in the game on fourth down, and not to go for a first on a tush push or a quick slant, instead dropping back to punt, and I don't mean a pooch punt. It would seem a bit odd in today's era of specialization, right? But up until the 90s, it was a bit more commonplace to see the starting QB drop back to punt it away. Guys like Dallas's Danny White or Houston's Dan Pastorini were frequent QB/punters. Pittsburgh's Terry Bradshaw punted a few times, he even had one blocked. And then there was Joe Theismann, who punted exactly one time. And it happened on this day in 1985. The Washington Redskins were playing the Chicago Bears in Soldier Field, and after the Skins made it 10-0 early in the second, the scenario that put Theismann in the role of punter played out. On the ensuing kickoff, Chicago's Willie Gault took the ball at his own 1-yard line and went 99 yards for the score. Well, on that run back, the kicker for the Redskins, Jeff Hayes, injured his knee attempting to tackle the speedy Gault. The next Washington possession went 3-and-out deep in their own end. With a limited 43-man active roster on game days in 1985, you're simply not carrying an extra punter. Theismann told Joe Gibbs he'd give it a shot if they needed to punt it, and then this happened.
Theismann is standing at the end zone to punt the football. Oh, that's a bad punt. Theismann off the side of his foot. Now, we had no report on Hayes. We'll try and get that for you. It went a yard. It went a yard. And the word on Hayes is a bruised knee, which may have occurred on the Gault kickoff return.
I think that's exactly what happened when he tried to make the tackle on Willie Gault for the touchdown. He was injured, and Joe Theismann had the punt. He wound up with a 1-yard punt, and you talk about a turnaround in a football game.
1 yard, 36 inches, 91.5 centimeters. That was the length of Theismann's lone attempt, and it's the reason he never attempted another one. The Bears took advantage of the shank, taking over at Washington's 14. The punky QB Jim McMahon hit Dennis McKinnon for a touchdown on the next play to give the Bears the lead for good. It was all part of a 31-point second quarter that led to a 45-10 win for the Bears. On this day in 1923, Walter Hagen and Gene Sarazen played what many consider to be the greatest match play battle in golf history. This was the PGA Championship played at Pelham Country Club in New York. The PGA Championship was a match play event until 1958. So instead of having to beat an entire field of players over 4 days, it was a one-on-one battle to get to the final pairing. Hagen and Sarazen had run the 5-match gauntlet and squared off against each other on this day. The final, like the semifinal matches, were 36 holes, so a morning 18 and then an afternoon 18. Both men had been fortunate in their semifinal matches the day before to close out their opponents rather quickly. Hagen had won 12 and 11, while Sarazen had advanced 7 and 5. So a lot less swings and a little extra rest probably came in handy. Although, to be honest, with Hagen, he probably spent the extra time drinking and hanging out with a lady friend or two. The dude liked to party all night and then show up the next morning a little hungover and then kick everybody's ass. But he had a lot of respect for Sarazen, so maybe he ended the night a little earlier than usual. But once the golf got started on this day, the two golfers matched each other shot for shot. The morning round was close throughout. Sarazen got off to a good start with a birdie at the first to go one up, but Hagen evened it at the second. Every time Hagen grabbed a lead after that, Sarazen found an equalizer. After the first 18, the match was all square. Sarazen was the defending PGA champ, and he got off to a hot start in the afternoon round. After a couple of birdies and a Hagen bogey on 7, Sarazen had a 3-up lead. He was sitting in the proverbial catbird seat after 15. 2 up with 3 to play. But Sarazen bogeyed 16 and 17, and it was all square again. Both golfers parred 18, and it was on to extra holes. Fortunately, they did not play another 18. That would have been just a little bit too grueling. The second playoff hole was a drivable par 4. Both golfers went for it, Hagen hitting it a little longer, but he wound up in a bunker. Sarazen's shot landed in some rough about 40 yards from the green. Sarazen applied a good bit of pressure, nestling his second shot to about 4 feet. Hagen could not extricate himself from the sand, and when Sarazen tapped in for his birdie, he had won back-to-back PGA titles. Hagen's day would come again. He won the next 4 PGA championships. From a memorable match to a memorable shot, well, that's giving it possibly a little too much credit. It was more of a memorable intended shot that resulted in a golfer taking a literal dive. This was the 2007 President's Cup event, which differs from the Ryder Cup in that the U.S. plays against an international team instead of just the Euros like in the Ryder Cup. Well, on this day, Woody Austin and David Toms were paired together. Woody was a PGA Tour veteran, but he had never had the opportunity to represent the U.S. in a team competition, and so he was excited to be there and looking for any way to pick up a win. They were going head-to-head with Rory Sabatini and Trevor Immelman in a best ball match. Well, on the 14th hole, Woody drove his tee shot on the short par 4 into the pond to the left of the green. His ball was partially submerged, so he decided to play it. He took off his socks and shoes, rolled up his pant legs, and took his stance in the water. It was a bit of an awkward stance with his left leg out of the water, foot on the bank, his right leg was submerged to the mid-calf. He was hoping to just get the ball onto the bank and maybe something good would happen.
Oh, Woody Austin trying to get it out of the water. Oh, my gosh. Austin overboard. That's taking one for the team.
In all the years, I've never seen anything like that.
The odds were very slim. You don't ever want to concede the hole without really playing the hole. So we just felt that if there was any minor miracle that I could get it to the bank, then I might be able to chip it in. What I didn't know was there were rocks in there, and I hammered a rock with the club, so I didn't have a chance to even get to the ball. And then I stepped on another one when I lost my balance, and I was done.
So he didn't go completely under, but about 75% of him did. Everybody had a pretty good laugh at that one, even Woody. The Woodman became Aquaman for the duration. Toms and Austin lost the hole, but they were able to rally with 3 birdies to close it out to pick up a half point on the way to a U.S. victory in the 2007 President's Cup. And on this day in 1987, Don Mattingly put his name in the Major League record book for something that he really was not known for. On this day, Mattingly hit his 6th Grand Slam of the season, setting the seasonal record for 4 RBI 4-baggers in a season. Now, Mattingly is not ever going to be mentioned with the great sluggers of the game, but he did hit 222 homers over a 14-year career, and he had a stretch of 4 straight seasons of hitting at least 20 and a 3-year span of hitting 30-plus. 1987 was the last year he ever hit at least 30, and 6 of those were Grand Slams. So A lot has to happen to hit just one, right? You got to have the bases loaded, and then you got to deliver when you have the opportunity. And he liked doing his damage in the early innings. He hit all 6 slams prior to the 5th. He just hit his 5th slam of the year a few days prior. In this game against the Boston Red Sox, Donnie Baseball came up in the 3rd to face Bruce Hurst. Bases were loaded, obviously. Mattingly had not been super successful facing Hurst in the past, hitting just .217 against him. But he took a Hurst offering deep to right at Yankee Stadium for his 6th of the year. Now, here's the weird thing. In no other season did Mattingly hit even 1 grand slam. Prior to '87, he was a .250 hitter with bases loaded with only 1 extra base hit. After '87, his home run totals started to fall off. Mattingly's 6th grand slam record would stand by itself until Cleveland's Travis Hafner equaled it in 2006. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. The original voice for Shrek was supposed to be Chris Farley, not Mike Myers. Farley recorded about 85% of the lines for the movie, but then he died before he could complete the project. That's all I've got for you today. This and every episode of This Day in Sports History is researched, written, voiced, and produced by me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another edition of This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.